There we go. All right, what's up, everybody? This is Matt here at IDJNOW, and we're here with Jason from QSC. We're going to be joined by Craig, hopefully in a little bit.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, if you're seeing this, apologies. We had some issues with the other stream. We wanted to make sure it was going through to both of our platforms on YouTube and Facebook. Hopefully the problem is resolved and you're still watching. But today, we are going to be talking about all things L-Class. I saw this whole setup at NAMM, and my mind was blown, Jason. I was honestly just like very impressed with the whole presentation of it.
Fantastic.
And just the idea that something like this can exist is just a big thing in our world, in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really come a long way. So when Craig gets here, which I'm sure will be soon.
Yeah, he should be here in just
we'll bring him in. In the meantime, let's I guess we'll give it a minute, get some eyes in here.
Get some people filing in.
Yeah, got a few people in here. And yeah, just really excited to talk about these new speakers.
I'm excited to talk about them too. I've been talking about them for some months now, and it hasn't gotten old yet. They're exciting to talk about. They're exciting to teach about. They're exciting to see people's reaction to them for sure. Really cool innovation that's gone into this.
Yeah, before we get into the whole presentation of it, like how long were these in production? Like how long has this like just generally been an idea? Do you know?
That is a fantastic question. In total time, it's been about 5 years.
Okay.
However, that time was extended due to COVID. Where there were major, obviously, like the shutdown and the lockdown stopped production and stopped development for a period of time, and then the parts issues, supply issues, and things like that to try and actually get them manufactured. It just slowed everything down pretty significantly. So at the end, when we finally got there, it was about 5 years worth of development, but should have been 2 or 3 realistically.
Yeah. But they're here now. Very impressive.
Now.
Everything I've heard has been positive. I know a good amount of our customers have these things already, and
fantastic.
Everyone's very happy. Craig, thank you for joining us, everyone. All right, so Craig is here. We can start the presentation. I already got someone telling me to stop talking, which is valid. These speakers
Get going.
These speakers are a lot more important than me. So Jason, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Great.
And then obviously we got Craig here to interject a little bit too. And sorry, just playing around with all the
very good
stuff here. But Jason, I will mute myself and the floor is yours.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that, Matt. My name is Jason. I am the Pro Audio Training Manager with QSC, and I'm going to show off our new L-Class product today, which I have a few boxes with me in my room today. I'm excited about. L-Class is essentially the next generation of advanced, intelligent, active loudspeakers. And I'm going to be speaking to both the intelligent and active portions throughout the presentation here as we get going. I do have a handful of slides that I might cut to here and there. I'm trying to avoid death by PowerPoint altogether, especially since I do have the product with me in person. So we're going to keep this kind of loose and a little off the cuff. What I'd like to do is give you a little bit of background, actually. This started as a way of advancing KLA. I don't know if some of you out there might be familiar with the KLA line array from QSC. It was our first toe dip into the powered line array. And so, we had an advancement in K series. We came up with K.2, and we decided to kind of move ahead and advance KLA as well. And we actually kind of turned our focus outward towards the customers and the users of this product and just asked people what they wanted to see. Like, if we were going to update this, what direction would you like us to go in? What do you like about this? What don't you like it? What would you like to see updated? Things like that. What ended up happening was, we collected all of that information, and realized that what we were going to be developing actually kind of blew the lid off of a K or a KLA series altogether. It was an entirely new tier of product, and it became now what we call the L class. A little fun factoid about the naming convention. L is actually the next letter in the alphabet after K. So there you go. That's stepping
Scientific.
Very scientific. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and pop to one of my slides now and show this to you. Here's what we updated. So the number one feature request that we had with KLA was adjustable splay angles. So we did that. We ticked that box. That was one of the first things we worked on. We've also just kind of in general simplified the hardware and streamlined the hardware altogether with our new rapid deploy, which means you can set this up and take it down with no tools required. And we're going to actually get into that. I'm going to show you how that works in real time in a second. The other thing that people really wanted, which is sort of related to the angles, was the ability to substack and build a ground stack off of a sub. Clearly, with a fixed arcuate design, which is what KLA was, you can't stack it because you end up just arcing and firing into the sky, and that doesn't make sense. So we've gone ahead and given it that. So there's multiple deployment options, which make it a lot more versatile. Obviously, the KLA is about 8-9 years old now, I believe. So we made some improvements in the acoustic performance, which we'll talk about, updated the DSP technology, and we gave it network capability, which was another major request. People wanted Dante. So we've gone ahead and done that. So we've got full network capabilities for control and monitor, as well as your audio over IP with Dante protocol that way. So those are sort of what the features we added and kind of where we ended up with L class. And so this is the L class family today. The initial launch consists of 4 products. We've got the LA108, which is what I have with me today. It is an 8-inch two-way loudspeaker with an 8-inch woofer and a single compression driver. There's also the LA112 or the LA112, which is a two-way loudspeaker featuring a 12-inch woofer and 2 compression drivers. There actually is a second compression driver in the larger model. So not only do you get that extra low-end extension, but you've got a lot more high and mid pressure, and which gives you a lot more clarity and throw out of the larger box as well. So you got more power there. There also is a companion subwoofer that will be available early next year. At this point, the LS118, which if you're familiar with the KS118, which I actually have here, it's a little out of view here, but I have these stacked above the KS118 today. Acoustically, they're very similar. The biggest differences are with the LS subwoofer, you do have the ability to network, with the additions of the DSP updates and things like that as well for the L class. You also have the ability to fly it and deploy it horizontally or vertically, which we'll get into when we talk about deployment in a little bit. So most of the advancements with the subwoofer are hardware related. Sonically, it is very similar to a KS118. And then rounding out the product line here is actually a software called System Navigator, which again, we'll talk about a little. I've got it going on my iPad right here. System Navigator is sort of the heart of L class or the L class system. It allows the user to remotely control and monitor an entire system from within the venue, as well as the ability to do some pre-deployment acoustic modeling before you get there. And again, we'll get more into that in detail as we move along. So moving through this here. The first thing I kind of want to start off with before I jump out of my PowerPoint here is I got a couple cool slides that I think are beneficial here. The first one here is something that I think is a really cool innovation that has gone into this, which is a waveguide. It's also something that I can't physically show you in real time because it's inside the product here. So I do have a slide to kind of talk about this a little bit. But what the waveguide did, our engineers figured out a way to utilize multiple pathways, acoustic pathways that keep all of your mid and high frequencies perfectly time aligned as they leave the front of each loudspeaker. And what this does is it's going to give you greater high-end accuracy and clarity, particularly in speech and vocals. So you get a lot more intelligibility out of the vocals. You also have extended throw and just some additional power out of that box with a relatively shallow footprint, which we'll talk about here. So we own 4 patents on this waveguide today, so we're a little bit untouchable in the waveguide space. And I hope all of you do get a chance to get out and actually listen to these. Obviously, in a live stream environment, the listening demo part of this is kind of null. but they do sound fantastic, and the clarity and the throw that you do get from these compact boxes is pretty outstanding.
Hey, Jason, I do want to point out that both the IDJNOW stores have them in stock, and they're on display, and they're flying, and you can go and work with the team and take a listen.
Absolutely. You should definitely do that. They're in stock. IDJNOW has them in the store. Get down there, get over there, get a listening demo, put ears on them for yourselves, play with the hardware yourselves. I highly encourage that, because it's something you have to experience yourself, really, to get a grasp of it. Cool. So now let's talk a little bit about the hardware. I'm going to pop back out to my main view here. So I did mention earlier, we streamlined the hardware. I'm going to flip this around to the side here and talk a little bit about this. I'm actually going to show you how this works in real time. This is called our rapid deploy rigging system, which kind of revolutionizes line array hardware in general, with an entirely new approach to how this works. It essentially allows for one person to be able to completely set up and tear down an array all by themselves. Again, no tools required. There's no lanyards or pins. It's perfectly safe and very fast and very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and take my third LA108 here, and I'm just going to plop it right on top, just like this. So it uses a system of hooks and strikes. So I hook the front of the loudspeaker onto the top of the one below it. And I'll switch to my other view here so you can kind of see this in greater detail. So we've got our hook and strike here up here. I just simply laid the rear down onto the back here. Now I'm going to lock it down just like that. There's two locking mechanisms on either side. That's it. So that's how you add a box. Now it's not going anywhere. Now I mentioned our angles. So if I wanted to adjust the angle on my box that I just added here, I'm going to go ahead and press these paddles here in the middle of the box below it. I'm going to push those in. There's one on each side. And then I can just adjust it out to the next available angle, just like that. And there you go. That's all it is. That's all there is to it. So we've got an internal pin system that is activated and deactivated by these paddles here. So again, one person can do this all by themselves. It's very easy and it's very safe. Notice where the controls are located on the sides. At no point were my fingers anywhere in this pinch point or anywhere near danger. Now, if anyone out there has prior experience with traditional line arrays, it historically takes at least two people to do what I just did with any other line array product. You've got a system of dog ears and pins on lanyards and things like that. You end up kind of supporting the weight while you're trying to get pins configured and pins in place to set them and adjust the angles and things like that. So this is a very streamlined process in comparison. There we go. So now, okay, I'm going to kind of back out to my main view here. So there we go. So I've got three connected on there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wire these up now. I will add power and my audio here to the third one. And when I power this on, I'm going to show you this. Here's the rear view. Notice the green bar here. When my top one that I just plugged in and turned on comes online, there we go. There it is. All right, so now I've got a yellow bar here. I've got some flashing happening. So this guy's not happy. Essentially what's happening is we've got IR communication links on the top and bottom of each loudspeaker that allow these to actively talk to each other. And so anytime you power these on, it's going to automatically call out to any other loudspeakers that might be around it. And it's going to be able to figure out exactly what its configuration is, okay? So as soon as I added this third one on here, it knew that another one was added. It knew that it was no longer two boxes with the particular angle in between it. It is now three boxes with an entirely new set of angles. It's also got an internal accelerometer. So using the infrared communication links and the accelerometer, it's self-aware. It knows how many boxes it is, the relative position of each of the boxes within the total array, as well as the individual splay angle between each of the boxes in the array. Why does it need this? So the other part of line array, aside from rigging it together, is optimization. You have to optimize a line array in order to get it to work properly and function as a single point source instead of multiple point sources that are all in close configuration or close proximity. You know, if you know anything about acoustic physics, when you have multiple point sources that are in a close enough proximity, it's usually trouble. You end up with a lot of problems. You'll end up a lot of phasing and lobing issues and things like that. So when you do have a line array set up, it takes a lot of EQ and band limiting and high frequency shading and things like that in order to get everything to play nice and actually have your line array act as one source the way you need it to. It takes a lot of experience and a lot of math, and it's a process. On top of that, anytime you change the configuration in any way, if you add a box or remove a box or change any of the angles, you have to redo that entire process. So what we did is we pre-calculated all of that for you. So as soon as it knows what it is, it's able to present you with a preset that will automatically put the optimization, the required optimization into each loudspeaker itself, and then array it together so that it functions properly. And it's as easy as pushing a button. Yeah. Middle guy here we've got all the yellow bars here. In order to load the new optimization preset, all I have to do is press and hold the encoder wheel for a few seconds until we get the green bar. And there we go. So he's green. Let's see if we can get this in my main view here. All of the screens are now green and it's happy. And that's it.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to add for the IDJNOW customers, what this allows you to do is you could send a rig this size out and do a very, very large room with one person deploying it, running the show, tearing it down, and then turn around and go to the next show and never do any of that math and calculation. You don't lose time. You don't lose productivity. You get right out to the next gig and off you're going again.
It's boom, boom, boom. It's super fast. And yes, you can, the scalability here is very advantageous. The multiple deployment types, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and being able to scale it up or down. Normally when we do a listening demo section here, we'll actually start off with just listening to 2 without a subwoofer. And even just 1 or 2 loudspeakers on a stand by themselves can cover a fairly large room and still have a pretty significant frequency range that it can reproduce. And then, obviously you add more boxes, you throw in a sub, and you're just scaling up to bigger and bigger events that can cover bigger and bigger rooms. And then you get up to the ability to fly this thing. You get these up, 20, 25 feet in the air, you add up to 6 boxes, and you're covering rooms of up to 160 feet deep with the 8s here. If you got the 12s, you can easily throw 200 feet before you start to get significant roll off of your high frequencies and your vocal intelligibility, which is really what we're after here. So very, very scalable, a lot of power. Speaking of power, I'll go ahead and kind of get right into that. So the 8s that I've got here are working with about 1,300 watts per box of Class D power. The LA112 has 2,400 watts, so almost double the power in the 12 to account for that the extra compression driver and the larger woofer there. So you've got a lot of power in that 12, and they are very, very efficient. So with that 13 or 2,400 watts of power, you could actually put up to 6 of either model on a single 15 amp circuit. So highly efficient. If you wanted to add a sub, you could go ahead and move. If you bumped up to a 20 amp circuit, you've got 6 loudspeakers plus a sub on one 20 amp circuit. I've got this. I'm in my house right now, so I've got this rig actually right here plugged into just the wall that I'm getting 120 15 amps. So and I have been playing audio through this. I will tell you that it's been very loud. My neighbors don't like me right now, but it's worth it. So yeah, there you go. Kind of on the efficiency and the lightweightedness, the construction material, we're using neodymium transducers in the high frequency module, and the enclosure material is ABS plastic. So if you're familiar with K.2, that's the same enclosure material here. So it's very rugged and durable and tough, and can withstand being on the road and things like that without sacrificing structural integrity or sound quality. So those are 2 things that we care very much about, and we don't want to sacrifice that. However, we do want to keep this thing kind of as lightweight as possible, so that it is portable, and so that, again, one person can very easily, very safely, and very legally transport this thing around. So and I'll get back to the legal comment. The 108 is 30 pounds a box. So that's pretty lightweight. The larger model, the 12, is 47 pounds, which is a bit heavier, yes, but still under 50 pounds, which is the OSHA regulation in the US for a single person equipment carry. So if you're on a job site, anything that's over 50 pounds, OSHA says now you got to have 2 people to carry that around. Doesn't matter how much you work out or what you bench, you know, they want you to have 2 people. So being under 50 pounds, you can do this by yourself all day and get away with it. Very good. Now what are we talking about? So let's talk a little bit about deployment. I did mention there's a few different ways to do this. What I'm doing right here is probably the simplest setup. I've just got this on a pole over a subwoofer. There are pole cups built directly into the bottom of each of these. There are 2 pole cups. There's a 0 degree and a 7.5 degree down tilt. So if you do need a little bit of a starting tilt, if you got it up on a stage or at any kind of elevation, you need your bottom box tilted down so you're getting the faces of your audience. You've got that already in there, and that's built right in. The other way to do this, I'm going to go to my PowerPoint one more time because I've got a cool video, is ground stack. I mentioned that earlier. So let's take a look at this. So here's just an example of how you would set up a ground stack. So what you're watching me do is set up a ground stack using the same array frame that you would use to actually fly it in a truss or from lifts. You invert the array frame and you use a tie down kit to secure it onto the top of the sub. It actually uses the M20 thread point that you use for the pole to secure the array frame down onto that subwoofer, and then you've got 2 attachment points. They're basically sort of like the dog legs that come up, which are basically the same piece of equipment that is in each box, which allows you to adjust the angles between each other. It's just an external version of that clips onto the top of the rails of the frame, so then you can get your first box started on that frame, and then you build it from there, just like I showed you in real time here. What's cool about that also is that kit, so it is 2 SKUs. So you've got your array frame, and then you have your stack adapter kit, which is an accessory that is separate. Once you've got those 2 together, you essentially have one kit that you can use to either fly the array or stack it over a sub. And when you're not using it, it actually all stows together. So the image on the left here shows you what it looks like when it's fully deployed and ready to receive a loudspeaker. The image on the right is when it's stowed. They actually kind of everything folds and nests sideways inside of the array frame. So it's all captive. You don't ever lose any of those pieces. They don't ever get left behind or damaged in transit, anything like that. So it's very streamlined and very, very cool. And then we also have, obviously, I've got this little shot here that I took of a full flown array. So you can fly up to 6 loudspeakers in an array in order to use the optimization. And that is essentially just to keep it kind of on the simpler side, but also allow the maximum number of deployment options. So our engineers kind of figured out that up to 6 boxes with the 3 available angle options, that covers about 90% of kind of our rental production and DJ and musician markets that we're anticipating this to go into. So, that's it. You're pretty much good to go, and you've got that instant optimization with up to 6 boxes. Now, if you did want or have the need to fly more than 6, the hardware on the 8s will actually allow you to hang as many as 12. I just found out from the engineers, and if you're using the 12s, I think they max out at 10. So you can physically connect together and fly more than 6. However, at that point, you just lose the optimization. You have to optimize it on your own. Hopefully, if you're flying that many loudspeakers, you're familiar with that process and you know how to do that. So it is possible. I reminded myself of another point I wanted to make and then forgot it again. Anyway. I remember. Okay, so the number of boxes. So I'm going to pop to another slide here for a second. Here we go. So here's sort of all of your variations of how you can deploy this. Single or double on a pole, a couple over a pole on a sub, ground stacked or flown. Now, if you are using a pole, a tripod or a pole over a sub, you can have a maximum of 3 of the 108s or 2 of the 12s in that configuration before it turns into a tipping hazard, basically. If you are ground stacking with a subwoofer, you can add 1 more. So you can have up to 4 of the 8s or 3 of the 12s before you would need to add tie-down equipment to kind of stabilize that further. Additionally, I mentioned here that I am actually using the 118 So you do have the ability to mix and match. So I'm using the KS subwoofer. You can pull in K.2 or CP loudspeakers if you need lip fills or delay fills, or a DJ monitor, a DJ booth monitor, something like that. And it's all completely cross-compatible due to our acoustic linear phase design in the DSP. It keeps everything perfectly phase matched and coherent. So you can use any of the QSC live sound loudspeakers and get the best sound reproduction possible, no matter what your system is. And then we have your different various subwoofer deployments. I did mention earlier that one of the features of the LS sub when it becomes available is that you will be able to deploy it on its side as well as vertically. It will have a M20 pole receiver on the side as well as on the top. And that is so that if you are using the 12s and you want to put those on a pole or ground stack those on the LS sub, you can deploy that horizontally, so that the width actually aesthetically matches that loudspeaker at that point. If you were to use the current 118, which you can only deploy kind of vertically, it looks a little top heavy because the sub ends up being narrower than the 12. So just something to be aware of. However, in this, as you can see in this image, you can use the 212C cardioid subwoofer, and that perfectly matches your width there. And it's a pretty mean rig, actually. I've heard that rig a few times. It's pretty awesome. So there we go. We're kind of coming down to it here. Oh, let's talk about networking a little bit and System Navigator. So I'll punch to my rear camera one more time here. So kind of talking about the rear interface here. We do have network as well as audio, XLR audio. There's an in and a through for each one. So you can daisy chain your network audio or your analog audio all the way through the array. So you only need one home run to go back to your board or back to your stage box or whatever it is. The same thing with power. Power is a little harder to see, but we've got the new True One PowerCon connections here, again with an in and a through. So the power is completely daisy chainable as well. And speaking of the network, obviously the network is what gives you the ability to use Dante. It also gives you the ability to use our System Navigator software. So as mentioned earlier, System Navigator is what you could use to, here's a little screen, couple of screen caps so you can kind of get an idea of it. So it's essentially, you've got telemetry. So you've got gain, you've got meters, you've got AC current draw, you've got amplifier status and things like that, and a whole bunch of more stuff that you can have real-time visual feedback on, as well as control. You can control gain and mutes in real time, and in future versions, we're also going to be adding EQ and things like that. So you have a lot of control using this app, as well as what you're looking at here, which is called AIM, which is our pre-deployment acoustic modeling software. So if anybody out there is familiar with Ease Focus 3, that's essentially kind of what this is for L-Class specifically. We've given you the option to input the parameters of a physical space and then kind of digitally design your L-Class array within that space, and it will automatically model the acoustic performance within that space. So you know ahead of time how you should be setting up your rig before you even get there. So this is a pretty huge deal, again, for anybody that might not have a lot of line array experience, to be able to figure out what your angles are going to be and what your overall tilt is going to be, especially if you're flying it. In addition to if you're just putting it up on a pole or you're ground stacking this thing, those options are available in here as well. You can take a look at what that's going to be, so you can figure out, okay, do I need to put it up on the stage? Should I keep it on the ground? Should I use the 7.5 degree down tilt? What should my starting angle on my ground stack be? All of this is built in here, so you can look at that and model it and know exactly what you're doing before you get there. What's more is, because of the Aware technology, when you do get there and you set everything up, it powers on. It knows what it is in space. So it can talk back to SysNav if you're deploying SysNav in real time at the event, and it can reconcile. So it'll come back and say, hey, I noticed that the design looks like this. Well, you set me up like this. There's a discrepancy here. Do you want to change that, or do you want to just go ahead and override it and go with the current configuration and hope for the best? So that is kind of a cool feature. So this application, it will be a subscription-based application. We're offering it at $9.99 per month. I'm totally kidding. It's 100% free. You can go download this right now. It's actually available now. You don't even have to have L-Class products to get this. You can put it on your iPad, or you can download it on a laptop, PC laptop. Right now we have one or the other, so it's either iOS or Windows. soon we will have Mac OS as well as Android as well.
Hey, Jason, if you're, just want to say that if you're a DJ out there and you've had the idea of going out and doing these larger shows, this is a great opportunity to download that software and start to design some deployments. Think about a festival you'd like to provide some sound for. Absolutely. And see what it takes. Like, what kind of a system do you need to put together, and how would you set that up to cover that kind of space? Yeah, and you can play with that all day long. It's a great way to learn.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And again, exactly how am I going to set this up? Do I have enough PA for what I want to do? It'll show that too. And like if your venue is, really big and all you've got is a couple to put up on sticks, it's going to show you, hey, you're not going to hit that. You might want to upgrade a little bit, fly that thing or get it on a ground stack, something like that. So with the various deployment options, the scalability, this thing's a pretty valuable product that can serve in many scenarios and many situations. Anything from a corporate situation with just some talking head reinforcement to ballroom dances, weddings, concerts in the park, larger corporate events, house of worship events, things like that. High school proms, high school graduations. The list could go on. So it's a very versatile project. You got a lot of scalability, especially when you factor in the network ability too. You can kind of scale your system using Dante and using that network capability and just grow it to as big as you need it to be. And then send one guy out to do the whole thing. So that's about the end of my spiel here. The last little mention I do like to make is the warranty, which I think I do have on screen here. 6-year warranty. So that is 3 years out of the box with an additional 3 years with product registration online within, I believe, 60 days of your purchase date. So definitely, and that's not just L-Class. That goes with any live sound product from QSC. So that's TouchMix, that's K.2, that's CP. Definitely, if you're getting any of these products, you want to take advantage of this extended warranty. Go ahead and register online. It's perfectly free, and you have 6 years of warranty there. So that's pretty cool. And that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, I learned a lot.
Fantastic.
No, the versatility of this system is honestly mind-blowing. Like, as far as like from smaller applications to those huge shows, like, it's just insane that you can use the same thing for each setup.
Yeah.
Never would have thought. But now, as I said before, we're gonna try and get to some questions. But what's funny is, as they were being asked, you were kind of answering everything. So
right.
I kind of figured that would be the case. So right now, I'm just going to kind of roll through here.
Yeah.
And just kind of touch base again on
survey the comments a little bit, see what kind of questions we might not have covered.
I mean, out the gate, someone was asking about the software, and as you mentioned, it is available on iOS and PC. You said currently?
Yes. And Windows PC.
Yeah, we're waiting on Android and
Mac OS.
Mac OS.
Correct.
So there's a couple of platforms it's not on yet, but they're getting there.
Yep.
So it's definitely a flexible software, which is great because obviously everyone has their own preference. Again, it's just things you had kind of broken down before. Someone was asking about being able to mount 3 112s on a pole or not, and you had said only 2 on a pole.
So with the 12s, it is 2. Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to take it upon yours, we can't recommend any more than that. But if you wanted to take it upon yourself and put some tie downs on it or something, that's on you.
that is on there. And then I'm trying to see what else we got here. Just a lot of people complimenting the system, so that's always great.
Very cool.
Hey, Matt.
iPhone or iPad? Yeah. I see that question just came up. So good question. It is iPad only. It's not an iPhone. So if you have a screen that's larger than 7.5 inches, it will not work. So you do need the full compatibility with an iPad.
Yes. What was that?
Jay Jax asked, what would be better for a 500-seat room, 3 8s or 2 12s?
There you go.
So I'm gonna ask you to go and figure out what kind of room is that. Do the math.
Yeah.
Find out what the depth is. If it's much deeper than it is wider, you may want to go with the 12s because they're going to throw a little bit longer.
Definitely.
If you have a wider room, the 12 has a wider coverage pattern. So a wider room, you maybe want to
consider wider. Yeah. So the coverage pattern on the 8 is 100 degrees horizontally, and the 12s is 90. So they're pretty comparable. But again, that 90, shaving off that little bit of width, and with the extra compression driver, you're going to get a lot more forward throw out of that. So you're going to easily get 200 feet with that box, whereas the 8s is going to go about 150, 160.
Yeah, the output of the boxes is 134 max dB on the 8s and 136 on the 12s. So they will both they'll come close to that 500 person room. It's a heck of a box.
Yeah, you could probably accomplish it with either one. It just comes down to kind of preference, and then, as Craig said, kind of the exact shape of the room and whether you need more, more long throw, or if you need more width out of the system.
Had another person asking what the size of the high frequency driver is on the 108s. That's
a good question. I cannot say definitively. I want to say 1.25 inches, but I don't know that off the top of my head. I can find out. I'm happy to drop my email in the chat. You guys can shoot me questions later if you want to.
And had a few, I don't know, I can't tell if it's a few people or one person who really wants to know if we're ever going to see a system like this in white. Which is a very
I saw that.
Question.
As far as I know, L class, the current L class models will not be available in white. But who knows?
Futures
never say never.
Never say never. Exactly.
Yes, but beyond that, like I said, I think we touched upon everything. Unless I'm missing something, if you guys want to throw something in the chat right now. But
let me get close to my monitor here, see if I can.
I believe we touched on pretty much everything. Oh wait, there was a question about transport accessories.
Okay.
Someone was asking about that as far as
like road cases or something like that.
Road cases, yeah, things like that.
So we don't manufacture cases or anything like that ourselves. However, there are, I think Gator has a spec, and has another one. There's another road case company, like a national road case company that is escaping my mind right now.
Calzone has I think
Calzone,
it's
thank you.
Case.
Yes.
Yep.
Calzone.
So they're out there, but we do manufacture, and at IDJNOW you can get totes, carry totes.
Yes.
And with a 30-pound speaker, it's like carrying a 20-inch suitcase under your hand. It's
you do some curls, you get your workout in too.
You can include the accessories, the cables, whatnot in the side compartments for that too. So it's a really nice package.
Yeah. If anyone does need to get those, we obviously sell the totes, but we do obviously work with companies like Gator. If you need something specifically for it or something even custom made, give us a call or chat with us online. We can get in touch with those people and get you for sure. Let's see what else we got here. So did you say the 12-inch tops with 18-inch sub would be able to be deployed by one person?
Yes, it would be a lot less fun than doing the 8s, but you could do it. Yeah. I would say if you're going to do an 18-inch sub with the 12s, I would go with a ground stat configuration, simply because lifting a 47-pound box on top of a pole can be strenuous, and then from there, then you got to stack it, on top of that one. So I've personally done that. I will tell you, it isn't fun. It can be done, but if you're doing a ground stack, that's much more manageable from a weight standpoint. Also, I'm short, so there's that.
There's that. Let's see. Would you still externally tune the system, or is SysNav a one-stop solution for the room as well?
That is a fantastic question. So, yeah, okay. So I'll set this up by explaining that the optimization and tuning are two separate things. So what the optimization does is basically just give you a starting point. It optimizes the array to operate and function as one unit instead of individual units that are going to clash with each other. Okay. After that, then yes, you probably still are going to want to tune it to the room, or do a room tuning, and maybe some feedback optimization and things like that, ringing out the room, so to speak. With the current version of System Navigator, you cannot do that because the EQ is not yet in there. There will be updates to System Navigator that are coming within the next few months, actually, that are going to put a lot of new features in it. So eventually you will be able to do all of this within SysNav. Yes, you will be able to tune it. You will be able to do the, the room tuning. Essentially, you can EQ the boxes and figure out exactly how you need it to sound and optimize them further for your actual space. So yeah, there you go. That was a great question.
Let's see what else we got here. I think someone just wanted to verify that it's a PowerCon connection on the back of these.
Yeah,
Is that
true
correct?
one.
Yeah, true one. So that is the
one.
newer version that they came out with recently. It is, it's got a few added benefits, like it's weatherized and it is UV protected, which in the instance of this, these boxes are not IP rated to be left outside for extended periods of time. So that element of the cable doesn't do much. But what is cool is that they've designed it so that you can actually link cable segments together in daisy chain and create longer cable runs on the fly. So that's something that I thought was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. There was one comment here. I can't tell if this is about the system or about this stream.
Okay.
It says, would love to mute individual speakers in auto mode.
I did see that a while back. I don't know if I understand that.
Again,
so are you talking about once you have, so what I can say is once you do have it arrayed together with the optimization, it does gang most of the controls. So if I show you this again, well, yeah, actually you won't be able to see this, but if I adjust the gain on any of these, it's actually adjusting all three of these simultaneously. And if I were to go in and add a high pass filter, it would do that for everything. And so all the controls, including the mute, I believe maybe it was what they were referring to, are all kind of ganged together. However, in SysNav, you can, it will still allow you to mute individual loudspeakers. Within SysNav, once it's optimized, the gain will be gained together. So you don't have individual gain control, but you can mute individual loudspeakers for troubleshooting purposes. So if you need to mute out some speakers, something's not working right, something's not sounding right, you need to isolate something, you can do that in SysNav.
I got clarification. It was regarding the line array. So
okay.
All right. And I think there was one other one that we didn't touch.
On that note, I'm seeing something in here about shading. The other thing that remains independent between each box after it's gained together is the high frequency shading. So you do have the ability to go into each box, and if you need to, after the optimization, if you feel like I still need more high frequency towards the top of the array, I need to pull something out of the bottom because it's just murdering everybody in the front, you do have the ability to individually shade the loudspeakers from the GUI on the back of it there.
All right, and then someone inquired about a preset for touch mix. I don't know if that's something that we would know about.
Preset. What kind of, like an output preset?
I'm not
sure. Like there's like K.2 and CP presets. I don't think so, because there aren't really presets for it. It's just the optimization, and the optimization is different than a preset fundamentally in what it's doing, and that can only be done from within the loudspeakers.
All right, and then someone's asking thoughts on LA112 mounted on one of the KS212C subs vertically.
LA112 on one. Yeah. I mean, no. Oh, sorry. Vertical, the sub vertically. No. Nope. I would not do that. I would keep that. You want that width because that's going to give you extra stability, as well as just visual aesthetic congruency.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think we've hit on everything, guys. Most of the comments are mostly about the system.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see Chris here has made a couple comments about SysNav. Yeah. Again, SysNav is sort of in its infancy, in its initial release right now. It will be much more full featured, within 6 months or so. There's going to be a lot of updates coming out for it in the upcoming months.
All right.
Cool.
I feel like there's going to be more rolling in, but should probably cut it.
So I got one from Dominic here. Did they say the flush look is 12s with the 18 speakers and or 12 subs? So If you're using the LS sub, the L class subwoofer that is actually not available yet, it is slightly behind on development due to supply chain issues. That sub, if you are using the 12s with that one, you will want to put that on its side. Or you can use the 212C and use that on its side, again, on its side, so that you get the extra stability for tipping and the congruency and the width there. And if you're using the 8s, you can use them with the 18 vertically, or you can use those with the 212 on side. I still wouldn't do anything with the 212C vertically. It's a pretty narrow subwoofer when you stand it up. So I hope that clears that up.
And Matt, regarding Dominic's question about
Yes.
There was a little line there. The little gap on the ground stack is a bit confusing.
Mhm.
I think what you're seeing there is the array frame itself. So you've got the 18, and then on
yes.
top of the 18 is the array frame upside down. So that piece, when the array frame is in the air, it's hanging one way. When you ground stack it, you flip it upside down. So that allows you to set your initial angles. But what it also does is the array frame screws down to the subwoofer.
Yeah.
So from a safety, stability, and also tightening that whole rig up, it pulls the whole thing tight.
It sucks it down onto the sub. It's using the M20 pull mount, and it uses the center rail of the array frame where there's a special piece that kind of locks onto that and then locks down, screws down into that thread point on the subwoofer.
Right.
So it's all
I think
attached.
that's what he's getting at. But yeah, that actually has a purpose, and I would say that's kind of a standard in the industry. You're looking for some way to make it stable.
Yeah. Cool. Good questions.
Very good. Okay. I think that about does it. I don't see any more coming in. We talked a lot, but we've learned a lot, and that's always
Good.
great.
That's the goal.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. These QSC L-class speakers are insane. I'll say that again and again. Yeah, everyone watching, thank you guys so much for joining us. We at IDJNOW really appreciate it. Craig and Jason, thank you so much for all your knowledge and for walking us through the L-class.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
My pleasure. This was fun.
All
Thanks,
right,
everybody.
You guys can find the L-class series here at IDJNOW. And if you have any questions, in addition to what you've seen here, feel free to give us a call or chat with us online.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, thank you.
All right.